Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Let's Discuss, where we talk about practical things that impact on our lives in this week. We cover a range of topics, mainly around inspiration, motivation, what's going, how can we become better at what we do, how can we utilize our Christian faith in order to achieve on earth and to get more prepared for the kingdom of God. So welcome you all in the name of Jesus and say welcome. We had a wonderful week, a wonderful Sunday so far, and looking forward to the week. Thank you for everyone who's been joining and supporting this past 2 weeks and months. God bless you. I just want to say your encouragement is really appreciated, and your offline and online support makes us go further and encourages us to do this session. So you're all welcome. Today we'll be talking about a topic that motivation doesn't last. Today will be a quick one, but I don't want to jinx it because that's why I always say that today will be a quick one and it ends up being 40 minutes. Motivation, and I want us to participate as well. I want us to share because I know at times everyone wants to keep their views to themselves and know that they are everything. But that little word or sentence or statement you might make might really transform things, not just for yourself, but for other people listening. Even if it doesn't do it for every other person, I think it will do it for me. Please feel free to share some of your thoughts on this topic, because Let's Discuss is not a forum for preaching or for data, but it is an avenue for us to get transformation and for a springboard to becoming a better version of ourselves. So you're all welcome in the name of our Lord Jesus again. We'll be talking about a topic which I think is so important for us to consider, and the topic is motivation does not last. The motivation industry is arguably, well, I think I had some estimates some years ago that it was up to $16 billion. The motivational speaking industry is worth 16 billion a couple of years ago. And what we've identified is that it's only grown bigger and bigger. But there's a challenge. The question now is, well, if people are getting motivated or all these things are happening, okay, yeah, oh, sorry, I didn't do this properly. Yeah, that if everyone's getting motivated, why is the industry growing? And we all know, I'll start with a story. I'll use a Bible story and I'll use a practical story. Okay. Oh, thank you. Said that the sound's really bad. It's distorted. Um, Let me do something now. Okay. How about now? Let me put on my headphones so that I can hear it myself. Okay. Can you hear me now? Is it better now? Yeah. Okay. Is it better? I'm putting on my headphones and I'm hearing it. Okay, good. Okay. Thank you. Um, okay. Yeah, I'll continue. Oh, thank you. Okay, I'll restart because I'm sure a lot of people didn't hear what I said when we started. The motivational speaking industry was worth about 16 billion some years ago. It's a big industry. A lot of people, we have the big star speakers, and we have people who are not big stars but get invited to speak. And aside that, we have, even on social media, a lot of people putting in inspirational posts, putting lots of things there. And for me, the big question now is, if there's so much motivational quotes out there, people giving motivational statements, why are people not being motivated continuously? I have my own theories, but I want to get people's views as well. That there's a lot of time, and I dare say, even at church at times we get motivated. We get motivated to have faith. We get motivated to live a good life. But at the end of the day, we discovered, even in the secular world, that, oh, and thanks, Ngozi, for calling my attention to the distorted audio. I think I pressed on the wrong button. Yeah, but hopefully that's fixed now. The whole world needs motivation. We all know, everyone feels we need to get motivated. There's been times when we fell down, where a song has encouraged us, where someone has spoken to us, where someone has sort of encouraged us, where we just needed that direction. We needed that little push to keep us going when we face different challenges. That's what I'm classifying as motivation. And for me, I'm looking at it as well as a Christian thing, that motivation could be when we get motivated, even in church, to do things, to have faith, to be encouraged, to live our lives in a way that God will be proud, that we have certain privileges as Christians, and we have God's love. So I believe all that is motivation. But what happens is that a few people have identified that, and I won't mention the name of this popular, a lot of us will know who this person is. They have what they call a funnel system. That is, you sign up for a course. He tells you some things about yourselves, gets you motivated, you get excited, and the next thing is you now go for an online course, or you buy a book. You buy a book that gives you discounts. You go for a course. After that, you go for a mastermind. And as you go through the funnel, the price keeps increasing. You can buy the book maybe maybe tens of dollars or something. You buy the online course, maybe that's about 1,000. You go for a physical event, spend maybe about 5,000. Then you get called to be a mastermind. And after joining that mastermind, which could be about 10 to 15,000, you're then drawn into what they call the inner circle. And when you get drawn into the inner circle, you pay more. And by the time you know it, you now still go to the next level of being having him as a consultant. So motivation is something that, whilst it's important, in my experience, I discovered that it doesn't last. And I want us to talk about, is there any way we can make it last? And if motivation is a good tool for keeping us maybe energized, and it's not working, what other tools or things do we need to consider if motivation would always go down? I know people, okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. They said the sound is good now. So So the topic now is, oh, thank you so much, sir. For people who don't know, I have a few of my mentors here on this call, people I look up to and respect, and having them here for me is something that has just increased my motivation. So yeah, but let's proceed with the topic, and you know, introduce some of the people on this call as well. So my big question is: if motivation is something that that dwindles, and let me use a Bible example, because people would say, "Well, this guy is only talking about facts and figures and real world thing. He's not talking about something from the Bible." So I'll talk about an example in the Bible. Genesis 17:17 talks about Abraham, and God was talking to him about the fact that he's going to give him Isaac. Let's not forget, God has promised him since he was 75. And the Bible recorded that Abraham laughed. A lot of times we treated this in church today. A lot of times we do focus on, oh, this giant of faith, but at times we forget that motivation and faith and things like that dwindle. Abraham laughed and said, even if you will give me a child at the age of 100 years, what of Sarah that is 90 years old? The Bible recorded it. You can go and check 17:17, which proves to us that motivation at times goes down. Faith at times reduces with the passage of time, and reduces with the passage of not getting some things that we want, which is why we want to discuss this topic. How do we keep, the motivation fire burning? How, and if motivation is not the right tool, what can we do? So I'll just take a few comments. Okay, thanks. So we have Ngozi, okay, saying the audio is clear. Thank you for bringing that to our notice. I was trying to be extra smart with the audio, but I've learnt my lesson now and adjusted it properly. We have JJ, welcome. It's always good to have you here. JJ said that, motivation for me is a rare privilege, and I don't even joke with anyone I get. Thank you for that contribution. Yes, which sort of highlights the fact that motivation is precious. It's not at times, and I know some people might be with me on this. At times you look at some motivational quotes. I don't know if anyone has felt it as well. You look at some motivational quotes and it just doesn't provoke anything in you anymore. It just feels like, okay, this is what people say. It feels like, well, yeah, that's true. But it doesn't give you any fresh fire. So I agree that motivation is a rare privilege. We've been bombarded with so much information, and getting motivation is important. Okay, and thank you. So, like I said, Evangelist Willie is someone, and I think sir would want to invite you again to talk to us about a lot of things. He's been in evangelism, rural evangelism, not the fancy one. It would be good to even have a segment where you share some of these, stories and lessons from the mission field, so that we can all learn lesson. And thank you, sir. I said we're doing well. Yeah, okay. Faith, thank you. Said, God bless you, sir, for this topic. Yeah, it's us as well. Like I said, some people reach out offline, online, and say we want to talk about this, and some we just go with inspiration. So yeah, let me read some comments as we begin to dive into this topic, because I believe that when I see people who have achieved a lot of things, they tend to talk to you at times not about the challenges they faced. They talk to you more about the inspiration or the motivation that drove them to achieve the things they've achieved. At times, they don't tell you, oh, it took me 5 years or 6 years. They might just say, my mother was the influence. Some would say, I read this. Some would say, I just didn't want to end up this way. Some would say, someone spoke to me and I didn't want that to happen to me. Or I looked at the situation, I didn't want this to happen to my children. Motivation usually leads to fulfillment or accomplishment of mission. It is a key one. So let's get some contributions in. So Evangelist has said, I see motivation as a harvest that is only effective when there is seed on the ground. The promise of a child to Abraham came because there was Sarah already. She was the seed. And I agree. I agree that she was the seed. That motivation, and I agree. I think motivation usually happens when you know there's something in you. At times it's not tangible. I was speaking to someone recently, and what he was telling me, and I've seen this a lot, I've even experienced it myself. At times you just feel and know that you are meant for something more, but something seems to be holding you back. When you then speak to someone who motivates you, you then say, wow, okay, now I'm fired up. Now I can do these things. Now I can do everything through Christ that strengthens me. Many times we know the scriptures, we know the words, we know the motivational quotes, but at times it doesn't help when our circumstances does not reflect what we want to be or what we want things to be. And when our circumstances press down hard enough, there's a book that was written by, I think, Harold Robbins. He said, dreams die first. That when you see someone, what gets killed the fastest is the dream, unless they protect it with something. And that's what we want to talk about, that if motivation isn't strong enough, what should we use to replace it? Or are there ways whereby we can keep the motivation alive? I think Evangelist has said one, that having a seed, with Abraham, looking at Sarah every day, that would be enough sort of like motivation. But he laughed, even she herself laughed and said, reading that chapter, that at this age, I think that was chapter 18, I think from verse 13, she said, and God, the people were saying, but you laughed. Why did you laugh? And she was saying, look, I'm too old for this. You told us this 25 years ago, but it's not happened. And the Bible said Abraham's a friend of God. The Bible recorded that Abraham is the father of faith. So even they, at one point, where the motivation had gone low. So what do we use to replace? And is there something stronger we can replace it with? I'm trying to see, because I haven't seen more comments come in. But I'll start sharing some of my thoughts as well, maybe to encourage some of the conversation. I believe that motivation doesn't last because we're human beings. When we are faced with the reality, at times the dreams die. At times the hopes we have, we abandon and move into survival mode. A few people are able to keep it alive. A few people are able to say, no matter what, this is what I want to achieve. And they continue with it. But majority of people, after a while, we as human beings, we get tired. We feel that my motivation is low. Can I digress a bit? Even in the Bible, if we look at a lot of examples, let's look at the case of the person with the talents, he had the motivation to do something. He wanted to do something with his talents, but he was afraid and went to hide it. That means the motivation was not strong enough, but he had motivation. So the question now is, how do we ensure the motivation lasts? And two, what is stronger than motivation that will keep us going even when things are not going our way, even when we feel that the chips are down, even when the challenges seem to be immense, even when we feel that there's been a delay in getting what we want. So I just want to get a few contributions on that, then I'll share some of my thoughts. I'm trying to see if there are other comments coming through because I don't want to miss anybody's comments. Please, okay. I haven't seen any comments yet, so I'll continue. So, like I said, there are two questions: how do we make motivation last? And two, what's stronger than motivation? So the first thing I would say in terms of making motivation last is to, and this might sound very funny, this will sound so ridiculous, but I've seen people of the world even use it to great effect. And that is write it down. Write it down. Write it down, because many times we put things in our brain. We did a session a few weeks ago, which hopefully this might represent it, but I don't think it would represent it well enough. But I would use this. So hope we can see this. This is not the exact size, but I think we can use this. The doctors and everyone, they cut open somebody's head and identify that the size of our human brain is not more than this. I think it's the smallest thing I can find here. It's not more than this. And that means all our fears, all our doubts, everything about us, our identity, the people we like, the people we don't like, the people we hate, the people we don't hate, the people we love, the things we're thinking of in secret, the things we're thinking of openly, is all in this small box, which is in our head, which is in our brain. And what happens anytime we face challenges, face circumstances, naturally, because we are natural humans or we're natural creatures, we default to the things we understand. And the things we understand are the things we can see, feel, touch, or based on experience. It gives rise to our natural tendency to want to protect ourselves from further harm or punishment. When Abraham laughed, he laughed because the idea was outrageous. He felt God can do, and I know we feel that as well, that God can do everything. With God, all things are possible. But the challenge we now face is, but can he do it for me? That I know God is big, he can do everything, but can he do it for me? And that is where we struggle. To make motivation last, we need to do the first thing. We need to write it down. And writing it down for me is the first discipline. Because once you are able to write it down, you are able to, and some people say, this guy has lost it. Why? How does writing things down impact on what you want to do? There are scriptures around it, but let me try and argue the point. When you write something down, it makes it real. It makes it real. Some people may not know this, but I'll share with you. I was reading to a course, and someone who is a well-known person now said, Do you know the meaning of the words abracadabra, which is, all the word this magician use? They wave a wand and say abracadabra. At times I didn't know. I was always saying abracadabra, people waving, doing magic. But what abracadabra means is that as I speak, I create. As I speak, I create. That is what they're trying to say, is that their words have formed a life on its own. When you write things down, you are able to look at it and think about it, and there's a new sort of fire, a new creative force that comes upon you because you've written it down and you're looking at it and you're now mindful of it. And your brain now sees it as real. Before, your brain will just turn away, it wouldn't consider it, but immediately it sees that, it then focuses on it, and that's the first discipline. The next discipline is to make motivation last. You need to start taking the painful steps towards it. It's going to be hard. At times you want to sleep, but that discipline means pushing through, pushing through, pushing through, because motivation would come and go. Yeah, I don't know if this is landing. Please let me know if this is landing. A very wise uncle of mine told me many years ago, he said, do you know, if every man understands this secret, if every woman understands this secret of motivation, a lot of marriages would remain. And I said, sir, what's this secret? Tell me this secret. And what he said is that, look, when people love one another, or, some people come together, most marriages, people come together because they really loved one another. But a few years later, they'll say, oh, no, I can't. This person's a beast. This person's a... He said, but if you understand that, he said, marriage wouldn't be what people describe as sort of like smooth sailing, that like just going straight line. Marriage is something that you'd have high emotions periods where you're happy, thanking God, thank you. Then you'd have the lows, that why is this person thinking like this? Why is this person doing this? Then with forgiveness, you move to another high and you continue low and low. He said, when you are able to manage the lows, and I have to quickly say this, please, if the lows are more than your capacity, please seek help immediately. Don't die in a situation because you can't speak out or tell people what's going on. So let me go back. So he said there'll be highs and lows. How you manage the lows will determine how you get to the next high and how you stay on the high. But not expecting the lows means that you'll be in a position whereby when you get to the low, you know what to do. And that applies for motivation. Knowing that we would have lows, knowing that life would throw challenges at us, knowing that things would not work out the way we want, we would then realize that we need to be ready for the motivation to go down. And when the motivation goes down, we need to ensure the discipline will help us pick it back up. So motivation will go down, but we need to be ready. We need to write down what we want to do. We need to be disciplined to continue. We need to be aware that it will dry up, but we need to be ready for that. That, okay, I need to achieve this, but I know that there was a time someone learning to play the guitar, for example, when you start, you're excited, you are on a high. Then suddenly you start rehearsing and you discover your hand gets filled with, I think people who play guitar knows it. Your hand gets filled with pus and you see water coming out and it becomes painful to hold the guitar. That's a low. People who are experienced and people who are guitarists, I think Tosin will be able to confirm, Faith, Tosin will be able to confirm what I'm saying. they'll tell you that at that low, keep pressing, keep playing the guitar, because if you stop playing it, you will not get better. But when you play it, what happens? The pores will burst and your fingers will become stronger. Faith, please confirm if I'm saying the correct thing. Your It becomes stronger, and because it's now stronger. When you play the guitar, you become faster and you don't feel pain. That's why what you're doing and facing pain today, when you're going through the low, shouldn't make you give up, because the high is coming up. So let me take a few. Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Yeah, Faith said yes, sir. Yeah, Yonda, thanks so much, and thanks so much for all you are doing for Unbox Praise. Really appreciate you single-handedly taking over the social media and doing so many posts, and God bless you. So she said, so many things can dampen our spirit for people living in Nigeria right now. We're using all our strength just to survive. Motivation is so low, and we pray that God would take control, because, like you said, it's not easy. But let's take it as a low. Let's take it as the low point, and that low point, one should not give up. Our dreams shouldn't die first. We need to hold on to the motivation that even though it looks outlandish, even though this is the wrong time to think about this is the time we need to do that, which is why the Bible said we need to sow. You don't sow for the season you are in. You sow the season before the harvest is due. Okay, yeah. So thanks. She said she didn't know that about abracadabra. Yeah, no, it's true. You can check it up. I found it very interesting. It just shows the power of our words, and how words are being used, and how words are being prioritized, and how the things we say, even as Christians, at times we look down on it, but people of the world understand the value of words. A lot of the things God has done is by his words, because he has the power, and he has given us the power. So we need to understand that words are so powerful. I remember watching all these Nigerian films when I was young, where you see two people fighting, with their medical charms and everything. And it's always the words. We call them incantations or chants. And the person who can say the strongest incantation wins. Words are so powerful. So I'll speed up and talk about something we can use in place of motivation, because some people might say, yes, I understand. I love to be able to have motivation when I'm low, but when I'm low, I give up. There's nothing I can do. And that's the reality. At times, life can be so challenging that when you're at the low, you just feel this is the lowest. I just can't even think straight. I've moved away from thinking logically to survival mode. So, yeah, Yonda said, lows are part of the plan. Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, I think that's Faith Tosin agreeing with me that about the guitar stuff. And yeah, your C as well is confirmed that when you feel those pains, when you feel those low, when your fingers and pulse is coming out, you need to grip harder on the guitars in order to get to the next level. Okay, Evangelist said the main reason why people need to be motivated is because they have mastered the capacity that comes from from their higher self, and personal meditation is the window to mastering that self power. Oh, his evangelist has already, yeah, he's already giving us the answer. What I want to say, yeah. So I'll read that more slowly. I think this is really powerful. Even if you can't take anything from what we've said today, let us take note of this one. The main reason why people need to be motivated is they've mastered the capacity that comes from their higher self, and personal meditation is the window to mastering that self power. We'll talk more about that, because that is, for me, something that is stronger than motivation. Motivation is, at times, can be a feeling, how you feel at a particular point. But there is something that is stronger than a feeling. Motivation can be something that's got you energized. But when things dampen that energy, you are in need for it, which is why people, I started at the beginning, people would buy a book, motivational book, go for a course, online course, go for physical, join a mastermind group, and at times they chase that motivation for the rest of their life. We'll talk about something stronger today. Oh, wow, we have a powerful man of God in the house as well, Minister Seth. So he said, that's correct. Yeah, okay. So he's talking about the fingers. I might need someone to be helping with the comments as well, because these are really good things, and I want to say it, but I'm also mindful of the time that I need to begin to wrap up. So, Evangelist said one of the reason people need to be motivated is because they have not mastered the act of drawing strength from their higher self, and personal meditation is the window for mastering that self. Okay, I think I've read that before. Another vital reason is that people take away their eyes from the picture of the end goal that motivated them to begin the journey in the first instance. For those who were here earlier, we were talking about what happened to Abraham in Genesis 17:17, that when he was being told he would have Isaac, he himself laughed that, look, I started this when I was 75 and 100 years. What have I not done within that period? I've been faithful. I've done everything. And he just laughed that this is funny. I know God can do everything, but can he do it for me? I'm not advantaged enough. I'm old now. So that was the father of faith. And I think that should encourage us that no matter who we are, at times our motivation can go down. But we need to have what people call the generator, which is what Evangelist is talking about. And I'll expatiate more on it to talk about why it is stronger than motivation. And he said, one more reason people need to be motivated is because they are yet to identify the path where their strength lays. Vision is the force that fuels existence. You only look for motivation when you need strength. Your vision is your powerhouse. That's so true. And JJ said, you're definitely right. Jared's hand between thumb and index fingers tore, but his French piano coach told him to go on. He said he was grateful the man motivated him to go on. So there's been a lot of very good contributions in this chat that we need to go on. We need to persevere, because motivation will go off. I was talking to some people this morning, and I said, when the motivation leaves, the risk we run is that God put some of those motivations in there. God put some mechanisms in us to make us know when we are drifting or when he wants us to do something more. The risk is, if we don't make the impact God has created us to make, we become forgotten in some years' time, whether we like it or not. 50 years, 100 years, your family might remember you for a few days and everything. They might remember you have candle. But I've seen cases where people who even built houses maybe 50 years ago, their children now had to even move where the corpse is, where, people who have their burial ground in their house. The children had to even move those burial grounds to bury them properly so that they can sell the house, or so that, because they don't know who that person is. We need to understand that the motivation we're having is something God has put in us to give us that hunger, that there's still another ladder for you to get to. There's still something you need to do. And as Evangelist said, that seed is something you need strength for. That is the vision. You may not fully understand it. You may not, but something will just be telling you that I need to do this. But when the circumstances come, you just want to give up. But now we'll talk more about that solution. Okay, I think few more comments has entered and I'll begin to wrap up. So he said, yeah, so I was talking to someone some months ago. I think JJ would know the person. And what I said is that if you don't encourage yourself, if you don't, strengthen yourself, what's the option? The option is that the person won't be able to achieve what they want to achieve. There'll be challenges, there'll be everything, but it's time to take it as part of the low and, of the motivation and move on. But as Evangelist said, something that is stronger than motivation is the power of our calling, is the power of our higher self. What we are is different from who we are. Who we are, and I know this created a lot of debates many times in church, and there were a lot of, ministers talking about it, but I felt none of them really understood it. Who we are is already sealed by Jesus. But what we are is where we are now. And we need to ensure that what we are becomes who we are. So you can't say, because Jesus has done things, I would go and sin. No, that's what you are. What you are is your reality. What you are is the place you are. But what you are shouldn't become who you are. So who we are needs to be our focus. It needs to be our higher self. This evening, if I'm honest with you, my wife will be able to confirm, I wasn't feeling strong enough, but that's what I am. I was tired. But who I am is that I need to have this because there's an appointment with God and God's people to to discuss topics. So I could have chosen to let what I am rule, but who I am was what I chose. That even though I feel tired, even though I feel like I should be in bed, who I am means I need to stand here in the presence of God's people, facilitating a conversation about that will change destinies. So every day we have to make decisions. Let's begin to think. And that's what evangelists refer to as, the higher self, refer to it as our vision, refers to it as what we need to do. Let's begin to think more about that who I am is more important than what I am. What I am is how you're feeling. What you are the things that is happening. What you are the challenges that is holding you back. The financial challenges, the mental challenges, the historical challenges, everything. That is in the what you are. But who you are is where God wants you to get to. Who you are is the child of God, that God has given a great destiny. Gideon, what he was hiding in a cave trying to survive. When the angel appeared to him, he said, who you are is you are the general of God's army. Moses felt like a failure, 40 years old, running around, 80 years old, a man in the wilderness with goats and sheep. But he saw a fire and God said, I have called you. So what he was a broken, failed revolutionary, but who he was the man that would bring the Israelites out of Egypt. I hope I've made some examples. So what you are is what you are experiencing, but never, never let that take the place of who you are, because who you are is mighty in Christ to doing a lot of great things. So never forget that there's a difference. What you are today might be weak, but who you are is mighty through God. What you are might be undisciplined, but who you are is disciplined. And you need to walk towards who you are. And that's what, we're all saying that. And that, I know you're saying, mentioned something about you keep practicing. There was an example that someone's hands broke. He continued. The secret is not giving up. Abraham was 100 years old. He was tired. But God looked at the 25 years he was steadfast and said, what you are right now, laughing, isn't depicting much faith, but who you are is the father of nations. And that was why God said, I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God is looking at who you are, not what you are. Or you need to let what you are become who you are. I don't know if all this makes sense. I'm wrapping up now. Hope it makes sense. Someone just tell me this makes sense, and we'll be able, and I'll close for the day. When motivation goes down, motivation will go down because of that's what we are. We are human beings. We are flesh. The world has been created. There are forces all around. There's physical challenges. The economy is changing. There's corrupt people. There's the impact of different things on us. But who we are is what God wants us to manifest. And by the grace of God, we'll manifest that. So always remember, you are bigger than what you are. Who you are is better than what you are. But what you are needs to begin to align to who you are. So if you are thinking about, I want to do this in 5 years, 10 years, I'm telling you, that's still what you are. Who you are begins doing it immediately. Even if it doesn't look big, at times we always say, no, this has to be big. I have to start small. Start where you are, and you'll be surprised how far God would get you. Abraham's faith, motivation went down. He was laughing, saying it's impossible. I know God can do all things, but this is a ridiculous case. I believe God today will help someone realize that you are not a ridiculous case. It's going to happen. You may think the last 25 years has been a wastage, has been a failure, but I'm stepping in. So thank you, everyone. I know we've gone beyond our time, but I just hope this encourages us that motivation does not last, but who you are doesn't change. What you are needs to change to that. Encourage yourself. Keep working hard. Keep pushing it. Keep believing. Keep praying. Keep hoping. Keep talking to God. And you'll be surprised and amazed that who you are will manifest. You need to have the seed, as has been talked about. You need to push on. Need to, even if you don't believe in yourself, believe in God, because He has created you for something special. And that's why you're feeling that way. That's why you're feeling that you're meant to do more. It's a confirmation that you are meant to do more. So God bless you, everyone. Have a great week. I haven't seen any other comments come in. So any other comment, please speak to us during the week, and like and share. And I'll just close with this. Please go to our YouTube or our social media and look at some of, especially YouTube, we've put performances by, gospel music artists there. Go there, click on 5 of them. Anyone that you feel connected to, go to their pages. We've put the links there go to their pages, and just do something for people. I just want to encourage you all to do it. It wouldn't cost you money. It will cost you data. It will cost you some time. But please, that is who we are at Unbox Praise. We want to support the spread of God's music and God's worship around the world. And we need you to support us in that. So thank you, everyone. Remember, motivation does not last, but who you are will outlast. And you will be a sign and a wonder. Don't feel broken down. Don't feel rejected. Don't feel like it's not going to happen. Don't laugh saying this is what I've been hearing for the past 25 years, because next year it's going to happen and you'll come to give the testimony. I love you all. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. God bless you. Bye.
And you will never ever change. You are the Lord. You remain the same. It's a simple chorus. You will never ever change. You are the Lord. You remain the same. Help me sing. You will never, 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 never. You are the Lord. Let your name be glorified. Oh, you will never, 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 never. And you